Hey guys, what's up? So I wanted to talk about how being your authentic self is like the sexiest thing that you can do, okay? Being weird, not caring, being your unique self, being confident, saying what you want to say, speaking your truth. You don't have to lie, you don't have to hide anything because you're being you. You're speaking the truth of yourself, of what you want to say. Vulnerability is a huge thing in this world. A lot of people, when we're dating, they just look at it as a casual thing nowadays. It's not really like a, always wanting to settle down. It's kind of like just casually dating. So, a thing that I want to talk about is if you're with somebody and you're not happy in the relationship, but you don't want to come off too strong, if like you're just starting to talk or you're just starting to date, you don't want to be aggressive, you don't want to like be vulnerable. There's ways that you can go about it without having to feel like you're being vulnerable in these situations, but still getting your point across. Example, this is for women and men, okay? I'm just gonna talk as a woman as with a man because that's what I am. But switch sides, switch energies, it is what it is. So say I don't tell the exact truth. Let's just say that. So I'm talking about a relationship I'm in, and me and the guy are both really busy, but we have a really intense relationship. But I'm asking, how can I deepen the relationship? So, one, I'm not being vulnerable. I'm saying the little things, So the little things are, we both work a lot, making up an excuse. So if he's always like, oh, like I'm really busy, we'll get together when I can, da 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 da, you're letting him be like that, and it's became your story. So it's became your story to your friends, like, oh, he's just busy, we'll see each other when we do. But it's like, that's not what you want. You want to deepen the relationship. But how are you going to deepen the relationship if you're enabling, that situation, but you don't want to come off strong and you don't want to be like aggressive about it, right? Also, a Zen person, right? Oh, I'm just really Zen. I don't like to take things like no title, like just it is what it is. Like I just like to like chill out and just like go with the flow. Okay. So when you tell your friends, oh, he's just really chill and he just likes to take things how they are and blah, blah, blah. But is that what you want? No, you want to deepen the relationship. So this is what you would do. He calls you, he texts you, right? You haven't heard from him in a week, and he went on a business trip or whatever. Regardless, whatever he's doing, a business trip, nothing, just working in general, a text message takes 2 seconds. So say you get a text from him on Monday, you know what I mean? Following Monday, you didn't hear from him for a week, and he asks you how your weekend is. This is how you would message back in order to still get your point across and still be vulnerable without the aggressiveness, without the triggering, without all the, because we don't really want to stand up for ourselves or speak our truth because we're scared that person will run away. And sometimes if you're only talking for like a month and a half, 2 months, you don't want to come off strong and then scare the person away as well. So what you would do to be vulnerable in these situations, which shows a lot of confidence, and again, you're speaking your truth, and you're being authentic, and you're being true to yourself, which shows bravery, vulnerability, in my opinion, is the bravest thing that you can do, because people can't do it. They can't tell their feelings. They can't be open about it. You know what I mean? And I can, but to a certain extent. Like, it's funny, because I can more where it's harder for more people than it is for easier things. Like in this situation, if somebody texted me, I would want to not really say anything because I would just want to enjoy the moment with this person, and everything would fly out of the window that was bothering me, but when the person is gone, I can come off really strong. I can tell all my feelings. I can, whatever. But it's not really technically a bad thing, but you got to be like with this person or be talking to them for like longer than 2 months to be able to express your entire like being to them of your heart. You know what I mean? But even so, you might be spilling out your heart But those are just words. It's your mind. Sometimes it could be your real heart. You could be speaking from your heart. You know what I mean? But like sometimes I realize like my heart's not open. I'm just saying these words that's what my mind thinks I feel, but without feeling the actual feelings and the emotions, not really speaking from my heart. And my heart is closed and guarded because of how hurt I have gotten in the past. So it doesn't really come across as truthful, maybe, because you're working with law of attraction. You know what I mean? And when you work with law of attraction, whatever you put behind your words, you have to have feelings. So when I say my feelings, that's what I feel, but I'm using my mind in order to express it. I'm not using my emotions. I have the logic behind it more than the emotions and feelings and, you know, whatever. But you don't want to really feel those all the time because you can get hurt, right? So they message you a week later. This is how an example of how you would be vulnerable. And then that's all I have to say. Just be your authentic self, because that's the sexiest thing you can do. End of the day. This is a tidbit, by the way. I'm always like, tidbit for the day. And I didn't do that. Excuse me. So what you would do in order to be vulnerable, they text you and they'll be like, how was your weekend? And you start off with, my weekend was amazing. You know, you don't sound, you know, it was horrible and make them think that it was, you don't want them to think that, you know, they were just like, you're just like sluggish and like you weren't having a good time, you weren't having a good weekend because you didn't hear from them. Regardless if that's true or not. You don't want to come off letting them know that if it's true. But you also don't want them to think that if it's not true, because it's not true. You don't want them to think like, oh, and then that kind of feels weird to them as well. So they would say, how's your weekend? And you say, oh, it was amazing. Put a little blushy face or a happy face or a heart, just like some kind of like warming kind of emoji. Because then the next sentence, you're going to be like, you know, I had it, you know. So you'll be like, I had an amazing weekend emoji. Kind of disappointed I didn't really hear from you. Hope things are okay. So you're being vulnerable, but in a way where it's very subtle. You're kind of slipping it in there in a sneaky way, but it's really not sneaky. I just said that because you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you know your reasoning for doing what you're doing, but it's to be vulnerable. But this is when they look at you as a human with feelings. Like the other person, they're like, oh, so you become like a 2D person to them into a 3D actual human being. Because this is when you actually show emotion. This is when you actually say something from your heart. And it shows confidence to be able to say something like that. Like, it might even catch them off guard. Like, oh, and that gives them the chance to respond back to you in a way that you want to be responded to. So, yeah, that's it. I just wanted to say that. Tidbit of the day. Hope you guys are having a good one. Bye now. Oh my God, I do this all the time. I'll like generally do it and it like just doesn't do it. It just doesn't like me. But oh my God. Let's do it this way. Here we go. Bye guys.